Hey guys, so this is the first morning. We have not had rain pouring down, which makes taking care of the livestock and morning chores so much easier. So I thought today I would share with you what my morning looks like and what it looks like when you are raising a year's worth of your own meat. So we do beef cattle, grass-fed organic beef cattle. We've got our meat chickens, which I'm going to show you their new chicken tractor. They have moved out of the brooder pen, which was in the back of our horse trailer, if you caught that earlier video. Now they're out in the field on pasture. And we also got our 5 new pigs. So we are raising, this is the first year we're raising this breed, and I am so excited about this breed. And it is American Guinea Hogs. But first up, you're going to come do chores with me. So we got to get the meat birds fed. So this is the meat birds. We have 24 in here because I've got one with another little hen in another area. But this is their chicken tractor. So we just move this once a day all across the field. So you can see this is where they were at yesterday. And then we'll move them later this afternoon. But we've got some larger tires, so it's a little bit easier to move. And because these meat birds will be butchered, they are at 6 weeks. So they're going to get butchered in 2 more weeks at 8 weeks. So you can see how big these guys have gotten pretty fast. There is no need in here for any type of nesting box because they're obviously not laying eggs yet, and they'll be butchered before that time would come. So we have the tarp for shelter from the rain and for the sun if we ever get any. It's an extremely unseasonably cool and wet even by Pacific Northwest standards here. We're not even getting out of the 50s really for our highs right now. But I need to get in here. So there we go. We're going to crawl through. I got to grab their hanging feeders and go get those filled. I have to say that my way to the pump house to go fill up the chicken feeders is a pretty peaceful walk this morning. So this portion of the pasture we had the cattle off of for about 3 to 4 weeks, and we just turned them back on here last night. So they are quite happy to be amongst all of the fresh grass and quite a bit of clover. So you can see we've got some of the white clover there, and then there's some more behind there. So they are thoroughly enjoying that. So my day usually begins about 7 in the morning, coming out and feeding everybody and doing the morning chores first. It's a little bit later this morning because I knew I wanted to film this for you guys, and I was waiting for the rain to stop so it wouldn't mess with my camera too bad. But usually morning chores for the pigs and all the chickens, including the laying hens. This time of year, the only thing we have to do is make sure the cows have water. So they require really very little care except just transferring between the pastures. So it's usually about 20 to 30 minutes total of chore time in the morning, which isn't bad for raising all of your own beef, pork, and chicken. That's the morning chores. And then usually come back out, move them, check everybody's water again in the evening. But that usually only takes about 10 minutes. So you're in the pump house with me. And I keep 2 bags of 50-pound chicken feed in this metal garbage can so that the mice don't get into it. And then fill these up once a day for the meat birds. So everybody's happily going after breakfast, and you can see that We hang those feeders so that when I move this later during the day, the only thing I have to lift up is one of the waters. We ran out of hooks and I didn't have it hanging up. So only moving one thing out to move it's not too bad. But meat birds actually will act very much like regular chickens. There's kind of a misconception. They definitely do eat more, so we have to take their food away at night. But right now with the stage that they're at, I can fill up both of those feeders to that point, and by tonight, by about 8 o'clock tonight, they will have ate all of that food, so then I don't have to take it away because they've ate it all when I don't want them to have any past that time. But they will come up and roost. So we actually put barbed wire up here so that they won't roost and poop into their feeders because they have no discretion. But they will come up here and roost on these. And after they kind of do their little bit of a morning frenzy feed, they will eat quite a bit of the grass and the clover. If I throw any vegetables in here, I had some corn on the cob that they picked over yesterday. They weren't too crazy about the rest of this stuff yet. But they will eat just like regular chickens and pretty much behave like them. They just like to eat a little bit more. Okay, so now I gotta make my way over to the other shed. So I actually get quite a bit of walking across this top pasture. It's kind of like we have everything in a triangle in the morning. So we're going over to the shed to get the pigs' food for this morning, and then I'll go down and give them their feed for first thing. Now, if you're curious about the rest of my daily schedule and what that looks like with homesteading and working full-time, I do work from home now full-time, but prior to that, I've only worked from home for about the past 2 years. Prior to that, we still raised all of our livestock and had the garden, and I commuted to a day job, and my husband still works his day job. But if you're curious about that, I have a podcast. Did you know that? The Pioneering Today podcast. It's one of the oldest farm and garden podcasts. Been out 2013. How many years is that? 7 years. So I have an episode where I do my full weekly schedule and daily schedule breakdown from morning when I wake up, which is coming out here and feeding these guys. Pre-coffee this morning, by the way. I'm feeling quite perky without having any coffee so far until bedtime. So if you're curious about that, you can check that out. I will put a link to it below. And let's get in here now and get the pig food out. So this is how we buy our pig feed. So this is called a supersized sack. It's about 500 pounds and it is organic pig feed. This we get from a local granary to us. They're about an hour away from us, actually about an hour and 10 minutes away from us, called Conway Feed. And it's their custom organic pig feed mixture. So, and I do the same thing for our chicken feed. It is an organic chicken, either meat bird or layer pellet. And so that's the brand I use, and it's a custom blend by a local granary, but it is always organic. So here's our pig feed. And this supersized sack for the American Guinea Hogs should take us all the way through until butcher time. We're not anticipating having to buy any more feed, but we'll find out because it's our first year doing the American Guinea Hog. So in the morning, right now, we're getting ready to move them on fresh pasture, but we're not getting them moved today. So I need to get a little bit more in there. There we go. So this is morning feed. So if you're not familiar with American Guinea Hog, it's really pretty awesome. The breed was almost extinct, like in the 1990s. So pretty prolific in the early 1900s, especially during the 1800s. But then with big commercial agriculture, big farming, etc., they almost were extinct. In fact, at one point, there was only 26 breedable guinea hogs left. And the breed has really started to make a comeback. It's really cool. It's a heritage pig, and they're mainly a pasture pig. So the beauty of them is a lot of the times you don't even have to feed them. We just brought them home. They're piglets. We just got them a week ago. And so we're still getting them used to being here and getting them used to, they're a little bit skittish. I made up a word, you guys. Skittish. They're a little bit skittish still. And so I have been every morning working with them to get them tamed down. So we'll see if they're camera shy or not, and they'll let me, I'll show you kind of what I'm doing. They're waiting for me, what I'm doing to get them where we can handle them some. Good morning, little pigs. Good morning, little piggies. So here are our 5 American Guinea Hogs. Are they not the cutest little boogers or what? So they're only 8 weeks old, so they are a young hog, and they have short little legs, but they're pretty stout, and you would be surprised, you guys. I hooked these bad boys over my shoulders when we brought them home last week to carry them between the back of the truck, which we brought them home in a pin, into here, and they are a solid 20-pound pig already at just 8 weeks. But the cool thing about them is they're not big rooters. So they're more of a grazing pig, and we're gonna be getting ready to move them over here. And this is not the best pasture or grassland. This is down here. We've been working on getting this cleared into more pasture, but there's a lot of buttercups, a lot of weeds, not really as much, a little bit of clover over in that area, but not as much clover over through here. So we're gonna be redoing our pastures next year. But because our pasture is not really great pasture and we don't have any nuts for them yet, they love acorns, and we'll forage for those types of things, we are feeding them. But the great thing is they're not big rooters, they are more grazers. And so you don't have to feed them as much, which is awesome, and they don't tear up your pasture as much, which is actually a good thing. You can use pigs to clear land, which we've done in the past. We usually have raised Hereford pigs in the past, but see right there, they're eating some grass. They're like, we'll just take some of this. So they're grazers, but we're supplementing a little bit with feed. So we do run one hot wire there along the bottom, just because they do root a little bit, and that's to keep them in, but just one strand, and then the hog panels. So you can see they're a little bit skittish, but they're doing a lot better. And we're just feeding them. So we hate to feed on the ground, especially when they've been in here and they're pooping. So we feed just like this. And if I stay right here, they will come to the feed and then I can start to pet them. They're getting a lot better. Oh, look at you. You're not even trying to get away this morning. Oh, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Good eats. So when we first brought them home, they would not even let me touch them. Like, you couldn't touch them at all. So they have come a long way. They're known as a very friendly breed in just a few short days. And it kind of the same thing when we brought them home. We had the setup because we've always done the larger pig breeds before. And so we had this as their shelter. So you can see they had a nice little bed in there with straw and could stay nice and warm when it's rainy and cold out, and then as well as shade protection in the summertime. But we weren't taking into account how short their legs were. So we have to cut that board down and lower that for them. So in the meantime, we just took this trailer, just kind of goes behind, we usually use it behind the four-wheeler actually, and we just flipped it upside down and stuffed a bunch of straw in there. And so now they can get out of the rain. They can also get in there if they need shade protection. They're kind of shaded down here anyways, because they've got that big old maple tree shades this area, and we have not had any sun to speak of since we brought them home actually, because today's the first day it hasn't been pouring down rain. And then there's their watering situation. So for reference, there's the pig pen, and then we come up here to the top part of the pasture. There's the cows again. And off the back side of the pump house, I actually have 2 little chickens in here because we got a surprise chick with our meat birds that we ordered from McMurray Hatchery, and they sent to us. And there it is, which I have suspicions that this may be a rooster. And I'm very disappointed, and I don't want a rooster, but I won't be able to fully tell by feather pattern or behavior, but that's an awfully large comb, right? Anyways, not going to be able to tell if it's a rooster or a hen till it's about, probably about another 4 weeks. So we'll find out then. But the meat birds were really picking on that when he, I don't know what you are, was a baby. So had to move her. I'm still having faith in calling it her. I had to move her by herself, but then she was too lonely. So we picked the smallest and most docile of the meat birds, and they are now little coop mates. Okay, so now got those taken care of. They're all fed and watered. Now it's time to go and feed the laying hens and check their water. Good morning, girls. And I'll be moving them. We do all of the chicken tractor moving later in the day. That's when my husband is home from work. I can do it by myself, but we usually just get everybody moved all at once and have the four-wheeler out just once. So they say good morning, and they still have quite a bit of grass, but I'll be moving them to fresh ground today. Good morning. So now I need to take my bucket, which if you watch the 15 items to always keep in your pantry, you may recognize this. This is what my 10 pounds of sea salt comes in, because I always keep 10 pounds of salt on hand, and you can see I've went through it. So the great thing is when you buy your salt like this, you got lots of little buckets you need for feeding livestock out on the homestead and in the barnyard. So I need to go put this back in the pig feed shed so that it's ready to go for their afternoon feeding. Now, so thanks for joining me on my morning chores and feeding the livestock. If you've got questions or would like to see more things in detail, please let me know below in the comment section. And now I am heading in for that first blissful cup of coffee.